Last week I tried to pass inspection on this BMW E46, but the workshop didn't want to touch my car, and the reason for that is actually quite hilarious. Therefore we're going to fix everything wrong with this BMW E46 in this video, and hopefully then I can pass inspection. Oh, and did I mention we have a time limit for that? Right after I parked my car by the workshop, I received a phone call. And they said,
"We won't touch that."
Because of this. I had to put on a few spacers because my handbrake cables are a little bit beaten up. That's a parking brake. If you pull the lever, the so-called brake shoes press against the brake disc. And broken parking cables mean no parking brake. But I have a solution for that. Here are two new handbrake cables and we're going to install them to make the workshop happy. Let's start by removing the wheels and the back. Luckily they didn't fight me and came right off. Now we are removing everything in the way of the exhaust. Therefore we need to remove this strengthening bracket. Unplug the O2 sensors, and now we remove the exhaust. But there's something I haven't told you. My gearbox is trash and the gears won't go in that easily. Here's the new gearbox I've bought for 130 bucks. Hopefully it works. Now we loosen all of the bolts which hold the prop shaft. And as you already know, mark the position. And now it is. After that we remove the clutch slave cylinder and loosen all the bolts of the transmission. It was a little bit of a fight, but it is out. The threads of the handbrake cables are beaten up, so I just snipped them. One problem that bugged me every day when driving this car, and even mechanics didn't know the solution for that, we're going to try and fix it with some bushings. And here are the subframe mount bushings, link is in the description. And now we're taking the rear subframe out of the car. Now we are unbolting the dampers and brake components in the rear because I don't want to take off the connector between the brake hose and the line. I don't want to risk running the brake line connector. Right after that we are unplugging the ABS sensors. Here I marked the position of the trailing arm and now we are unbolting it. Therefore we need to lower the car and support the rear subframe. We removed a lot of ballast in the rear, so I placed two tires in the trunk so that the car wouldn't tip forward. Well, I think these bushings are pretty broken. The middle of this bushing just removed itself. And now it's time to let them sweat a little bit. Well, it burns. After letting them burn for a bit, take a hammer and force them out. I never thought that this method would work that well. And now it was just a matter of getting the new ones in. Clean the bushing seat and lube it up with some hand soap. After that, force them in with a wheel bearing tool. Perfect. Now we install the whole subframe onto the car. Placing the subframe right was tricky, but after some finagling we made it. After that we installed the new handbrake cables. Now it's time to put in the new gearbox. Right after we installed the prop shaft. And now it's time for the exhaust. Now we check if the clutch is disengaging properly. And yeah, it works just fine, luckily. Now we install the handbrake shoes and all of the brake components. And now we're installing the strengthening bracket again. Well, as soon as I started the engine, I noticed that the brakes weren't bled completely. There was some air in the system, although we bled it right before starting the engine. Therefore we bled it again, and now luckily it works. But guess what? There is also another issue. As soon as I lifted the car, I noticed that there was a pretty big rust hole in the floor panel. So let's fix it. First remove the carpet, then cut out the rusty material. And right after that we made a template and cut it out of metal. And now just weld it in and it's done. And now we're trying the car for the first time after the repairs. I really hope that the clunking noise is gone. Okay, it's a little bit here, but it's much better than before. Wow! Before this repair you could feel that something's loose in the rear, and now you won't feel that anymore. Let's try the handbrake. It works. No way. Actually, I'm pretty surprised that the handbrake works because it never worked that great. And the gearbox feels much better too. I don't have to punch in the gears anymore. And did it take me 2 days? Well, actually no, it did take me 3 days.